Fear and Hunger is a horror dungeon crawler set in the dark and hopeless dungeons of Fear and Hunger. The game is a hybrid of survival horror and dungeon crawler genres, with its influences ranging from Silent Hill to NetHack. There are roguelike elements to the game as well as a heavy foundation of a JRPG. That's the official store description of Fear and Hunger, and while it's not inaccurate, it's also not the full story. The games have a large fan base that increases by the day, but a large number of said fans haven't actually played the game. This spoiler-free video is for everybody interested in Fear and Hunger, even people who have already played it, because it aims to truly explain what the game is by explaining what it does. Every piece of media is transformative in some way, so how does Fear and Hunger transform you? What will you become by the end of it? Just like we deep dive into the dungeon and find ourselves surrounded by horrors. Many of you are doing that daily online too. So, before we dig into the game, we have a word from today's video partner, NordVPN. Come on, Michael, we have to film. Michael, what are you looking at? Do you know what a VPN is? Of course you do, you're watching a video essay about Fear and Hunger. You already know how important they are to protect your computer and privacy when you're looking up odd things, which of course you look up, you're watching a video essay about Fear and Hunger. That's where NordVPN comes in. With a single click you become safer online. It doesn't track or share what you're doing, and your traffic is protected with robust encryption. And it even has a 30-day money-back guarantee, so it's completely risk-free. Threat Protection Pro also keeps you safe from phishing, scams and malware, and helps detect fake shopping scams. Here at Mythonics, we've partnered with NordVPN for an exclusive deal. Every purchase of a 2-year plan will receive an extra 4 months on top. Go to nordvpn.com/mythonics or click the link in the description to check it out. You'll get a great deal and you'll also be supporting the channel. That's nordvpn.com/mythonics for this exclusive deal. You too can be as safe as Michael. Thank you very much to NordVPN, and now that we've got proper protection, let's continue our dive into the dungeons. The most important thing here is mindset. Fear and Hunger isn't the game you think it is. It's a crucible, and it's going to mold you into the person it wants you to be. Not everybody can withstand that, which is why the fans of the games usually don't play the games. But not you. Yes, you. After this video, you're going to play the game, and you're going to die, and die, and die. But you're going to learn, and you're going to become someone new. The game is built around negative reinforcement architecture that removes options until you, the player, behave how it wants you to behave. But as you learn, you realize that you can do the same to it. You can break it and mold it until it behaves how you want it to behave. You will learn from your mistakes, think on your feet, and plunder the darkness of man until you emerge stronger. What is negative reinforcement architecture? It is a structure where it is easy to step out of line, and every time you do, you will be punished harshly and permanently. This punishment, more importantly, the threat of this punishment, is embodied throughout every system. The grime-stained walls arching tightly overhead blur together with the blood-hungry monsters shambling its holes, which work in tandem with the story and game mechanics that outstretch their arms to snare you. So, why bother? Because beyond those snares and deep in the darkness is a glimmer of gold, luring you in. Of course there's something here, it's a game, but this theme is woven throughout everything. Each character wants to claim the golden-haired man locked away in the dungeon for their own ends. For money, revenge, love, or knowledge. But even he is just a promise of further mysteries. To reach him, and to continue afterwards, is a test. You need to explore the world, the characters, the mechanics, to test their limits as they test yours. Nothing will yield easily. Even understanding is extracted through force. Exploration must be careful and deliberate. The world is dripping with threats, but they are not idle. Each misstep, each mistake, has a permanent cost. A pattern then emerges. You're lured deeper and deeper. Anglerfish lights in the depths with the vague promise that one more clue, one more fight, one more step, and it will all make sense. Each element of this game is a fractal that stretches revelation until its breaking point in the deep dark below. And by the time you realize, its jaws have already closed behind you. This culminates in a negative revelation. There is nothing here but endless darkness, except you and what you've become. Fear and Hunger is a machine designed to take you to hell, an electronic catabasis, and your journey is only halfway complete. When the game boots up, a dreamy, clanging song plays. The menu art is a painterly piece. a looming, statuesque monster, figures staring directly at you in expectation. A man slicing his own arm open amidst a field of dying flowers. It's waiting for you to accept its challenge. How do you operate this machine? There are 4 characters to choose from. The mercenary, the knight, the dark priest, and the outlander, with basic descriptions of how each functions. In no game can you understand a character until you play as them, but much information is deliberately obscured in these simple descriptions. After selecting and naming your avatar, there is the first test. In case you've been ignoring every other warning sign screaming in your head, it is laid out as plainly as a skull and crossbones now. This game features extreme topics and should only be played by people who can handle that. If that's not you, then you should leave. What you need to understand is, when most games are selected by the players, here, the player is being selected by the game. The game rewards players able to make decisions based on incomplete information. Nothing about the game has been or will be clear, other than the fact it is a complete descent into the underworld. One last meta threshold to cross. Select your difficulty level. There's 3 settings. The default difficulty, named for the game and suggesting that this is the intended way to play. Knowing what we already know, it's not easy, just because it's the easiest. The next, obviously harder as it uses fiercer wording. Fear and hunger becomes terror and starvation. There's a litany of minor changes, all designed to live up to its name. The pressure to change who you are is increased. The atmosphere is thicker, and your mistakes will be more frequent and have higher consequences. The final difficulty is simply, threateningly, called hard mode. It takes the changes of terror and starvation and adds a few key ingredients to twist the knife. It's just you alone in the dungeon now. You can't recruit most party members, and you can't save the game. One mistake, and it's all over. There is one more difficulty setting, something only for the most extreme of Fear and Hunger players and much too dark for this video. Next, you undertake a character building exercise masquerading as a life story. Each choice you make assigns you items or abilities that you will have access to in the dungeons. A choice that feels right in the moment, that you made 5 or 10 years ago, can prove critical in your survival. Inversely, that same choice can prove fatal. How could you know? Few of the choices are outright bad, but it only becomes clear once you've gone through the process multiple times that some life paths are better than others. If your goal is to survive in the dungeons, then you can't be sentimental. How much are you willing to sacrifice when you know that the dungeons await you? Would you leave your comrades to die? Would you eat your friends when everyone is starving to death? Would you kill your sister? Inevitably, all your life choices end up in one place, standing at the entrance to the dungeons of fear and hunger. Each character is here for their own reasons: money, love, revenge, or knowledge, and you will find out how much suffering is worth those prizes. But these prizes are but vague promises, lights glinting at the bottom of a pit, with your only guarantee being the suffering. Player, why are you here? What have you been promised?
It becomes immediately clear that you're not welcome here. If you linger at the entrance, you get torn apart by dogs. If you enter the main hall, you get hacked apart by ogre-like guards. If you take the side entrance, you'll be beaten to death by hungry jellyfish. But to get anywhere, you gotta keep going anyway. And it's not power that lets you get there, but a willingness to keep going no matter what happens. Every step is another terrible mistake that brings you closer to your goal. The guards are the perfect way this game calibrates your expectations. They don't just kill you, they pull you apart piece by piece. They take away your ability to hold weapons, to run from them, and eventually even to stand. Every mistake is another lesson carved into your body. But what happens when you lose a limb? It's another option taken away from you forever. There's technically ways to recover them, but they're so limited and have drawbacks, so you'd better learn to be careful quick. They might disassemble your body, but you can start thinking just like they do and recognize that bodies are nothing more than a collection of limbs that perform specific tasks. Arms and stingers that attack, legs that keep you mobile and stable, and a head that controls all of it. Each limb has its own health, abilities, and turns in the pattern. Victory isn't about defeating an enemy, it's about learning to pull them apart piece by piece while they try to do the same to you. An enemy's intact body is a puzzle you'll need to solve in the correct order under pressure. Everyone, whether a friend or foe, is a collection of limbs that denote the set of actions that can be taken. Every lost limb is a lost option that opens up more opportunities for opponents. Each success and every failure is a stronger position for someone, and that power grows exponentially. Losing arms limits your attack options. Losing legs means you struggle to escape or chase opponents. But this is true for you and them. Many enemies have a devastating attack that kills opponents instantly. These are preceded by a coin flip. Call the toss and the God of Death stays his hand. However, why risk that? If you learn the pattern, you can prepare yourself by guarding and the attack will fail. Are you sure the enemy will use the attack this turn? Hope you were watching and listening carefully, because if you call it right, you're fine, but you'd better hope you didn't call it wrong. The most vital thing to understand about Fear and Hunger is its turn economy. One action per turn per character, and every action is a trade. Knowing what actions an enemy takes on what turns is vital for planning fights, as the turns you spend attacking are a resource to be carefully measured. This early, the allies you can find are of limited use. But any help is better than none. Most of them can't be controlled by you and will attack blindly if they even can attack. The first party member you find is the girl. In most games, a new party member is a powerful reward, but this one is tiny, weak, and almost useless. Worse than dead weight, she's another mouth to feed, and all she can do is use items. Can you really bring yourself to abandon a little girl down here? Besides, items are more valuable than they might seem. Potions, throwables, and all the status effects they can cause can turn a terrifying encounter into a fair fight. Status effects are usually targeted to specific limbs. Burn the arm and only the arm takes damage. Blind the head or poison the torso and the whole fight shifts. The same is done to you and there's a much longer list of effects you can suffer from than the enemies. The cures for them are rare and sometimes don't exist. One of the most lethal is infection. Your arm or leg can become infected, and if you don't treat it fast, you die. Of course, that's less of an issue if that limb gets removed either by an enemy's attack or by yourself with a bone saw. Every character has a phobia, a trauma that certain enemies trigger. It makes them easier to hit and easier to break. It's chosen at random and is effectively permanent. Each character will be at the mercy of certain enemies for the entire run. You can talk to enemies during combat. Sometimes they got something to say, and with the right words, they might even help you. It always costs a precious turn, though, and actions speak louder than words. You can also run from combat. Since generally your goal is to not die, it's a good idea. Although, it's a better idea to not pick a fight in the first place. Running also takes a turn, can fail, and if you don't have a route away from danger already in your head, then they're going to catch up while you're still fumbling about looking for the door. The sum of all this is simple. If you want to survive, you must become someone comfortable dying over and over as you experiment with enemies. You need to become someone who sees an enemy and thinks 3 things. Should I fight at all? Where and how should I fight? How much of my body am I willing to gamble on this fight?
As you travel, you are always moving upwards or downwards. Each layer is a test and a new threshold to cross, darker and more difficult than before. New traps, new enemies, new mistakes to make and new lessons to learn. Enemies are designed to mesh in with the spaces they inhabit. The hulking guards are all the more terrifying because you encounter them in the tight hallways. The slow-moving Maniba are effectively mobile traps, easy to avoid and can kill you faster than a guard if you're caught. Then, when you've slipped past them and have room to move freely, you encounter the next lesson, a hidden pit that teleports you to the Shadow Realm. Each level has its own carefully constructed balance between the mobile enemies, the layouts, and the traps. The Mines makes this explicit. Tight, dark, and winding paths apparently free of enemies, until a ghost emerges from the ground beneath your feet, forcing you into an impossible encounter. You can't hurt this creature, and you can't survive its withering attacks, you can only run away. And when you run, the next trap closes in on you. The tight, winding passages of the mines disorient and turn you around, until you're in a dead end, with the ghosts pressing in. Each area has its own careful logic in how it is constructed. The entrance hall has wide rooms and long hallways to funnel you into conflict with the guards, but still give you room to run and dodge. The prisons are thin walkways bending around, stretched over a giant pit, to allow the flying enemies free rein to terrorize you. The mines twist into long, winding mazes, with enemies that punish carelessly running into them. Each has its own lesson to teach and test you, and reinforces the lessons of the entire game. Time is a resource. Caution is a resource. Your flesh and blood is a resource. And when you think you've started to understand how this system works, it writhes around and reminds you who is in charge. You feel a chill run up your spine as something with true killing intent and malice towards you specifically has entered the game. It can appear anywhere and hunt you down. It will break your bones, it will peck your eyes out, and it will rip off your head. Enter the Crow Mauler. Its presence changes the equation for every layer and every room. Every area punishes rushing forward, and now the Mauler punishes caution. The window for acceptable behaviour is drastically reduced. You must adjust, or be punished. The Crow Mauler makes it clear that enemies are better thought of as systems. The game becomes a fractal of interlocking machines designed to extract a certain response from you, where each level is carefully designed with its enemies in mind, and you, the player, can understand and navigate them. The Crow Mauler is a chaotic system spiralling through to disrupt it. It is the embodiment of the dungeon's will to incite terror, destabilize your plans, and destroy you. It is a manifestation of the terror of the dungeons, coming to end your life for daring to impose on its darkness. Now, when everything seems too much, you'll find a glimmer of light. The Knight Das can be found in the mines and recruited to your party. The other playable characters can be recruited too, although none are as straightforward as her. Unlike the girl, she can hold her own in a fight, and, perhaps for the first time, you will feel a real increase in power. The dungeon immediately adjusts to your new level of strength. The stronger you are, the deeper you can go. And the deeper you go, the fewer mistakes you can make. Each mistake is a lesson the game is teaching you, and now you have to trade an item, a limb, or a party member for that failure. It will strip everything from you until you become the person it wants you to become. By now you've probably died, and probably more than once. Like every game, you can save and then try again, and hopefully learn from your past mistakes. However, saving gives you a safety that the dungeon can only allow in small amounts. The main way to save is by sleeping in a bed, and most beds demand a successful coin flip. Call it wrong, and they will summon an enemy to attack you. There is a very rare item called the Book of Enlightenment that allows you to save at any time and place, but it is single use, and you will not find many. Like everything else in Fear and Hunger, saving is a specific choice you have to make, with its own risks and rewards. There is a glut of items that can help you in this place, as long as you are willing to tear through every part of the environment. Shelves, crates, chests, even corpses might hold the key to your survival. The strongest enemies are often a test, or perhaps a temptation, a rusty hook loaded with bait, the reward being a powerful piece of equipment or rare item. Most of these are merely stat upgrades, but some have unique and powerful effects that can drastically change your path. You can even use the souls of enemies to empower yourself. Naturally, books and scrolls of every kind are found in bookshelves. These provide crafting recipes, free skills and spells, lore, or other effects. They help you explore, survive, and understand this world that you are in a fatal struggle with. A rare, special item you can find is the Empty Scroll. If you've been paying attention, and you'd be dead if you hadn't already, you'd have noticed that some people give you clues on how to use it. You can ask the man god Olmir to grant you a specific item or ability, almost anything in the game. The god Olmir represents man's attempt to reshape the natural order of this world, opening up this cruel machine to grant humanity a higher place, so it's fitting he will grant your request to reshape your world, if only slightly. There are smaller ways to do this too. Crafting gives you a second chance for your items, that they may become useful to you. Food recipes help stave off hunger for longer, and potions allow you to access a variety of unique effects, ranging from not useful to extremely useful. It opens another set of choices, and with choice, another risk vector. What part of your future are you willing to spend right now? What is more valuable, the ingredients which have their own uses, or the finished product? The ubiquity of hard choices that refuse to give you complete information selects for players who not only can survive them, but thrive on them. You'll be forced to sacrifice things, but not all sacrifices are equal, and you can leverage your loss to your advantage. This is most clear in the torch recipe. Torches are vital for exploration and survival, as you cannot see at all without them, but they are only found at random. Their recipe requires a scrap of cloth, which is also used to staunch bleeding, a common and dangerous status effect, which will be more important for your survival, stopping your bleeding and staying alive, or being able to see your environment and what dangers and treasures lurk there. Whether an item is carefully placed, found by chance, or crafted, the lesson is that you need hope. There's power that lurks in this dangerous world, and despite it fighting you at every step of the way, you can take it and make yourself dangerous too. Skills and magic are abilities that your characters have. They are what can be learned and what can be granted by the gods. But like everything else, these are not free. Learning skills and magic requires a soul stone, an uncommon item, and the claiming of an enemy's soul after defeat. They are naturally limited, and you are once again faced with a choice. What skill or spell will advance you to your goal? Skills are what are considered human abilities, something that the average person could force themselves to become through training. For example, the freedom-loving Endless Soul can grant you the ability to run quickly or escape more easily from battles. The souls which grant abilities are the 4 souls that belong to the 4 playable characters, so you have to ask yourself, is this character more valuable as a party member, or are they more valuable dead? Magic spells are abilities granted by the gods. If you align yourself with a god by performing certain actions, you gain affinity with them and can engrave their magic onto yourself using soul stones. Most gods can be prayed to, but all have specific actions you can take to align yourself with them. For example, for the blood god, Groguroth, you can feast on human flesh and sacrifice party members. You can become more, or perhaps less, than human to gain the powers of these distant gods. Now that you're properly situated, we can discuss the story. Nobody knows the full truth, only interpretations, and the world is built to keep it that way. You're given crumbs of crumbs, enough to lure you in. Maybe one more clue will be enough. One more conversation, one more book, one more item description, and then maybe you will be allowed to understand what is happening. Slowly you will realize that you won't find the answers, that if you wait for what you are allowed to do, you will never reach your goals. The answers are not laying on the ground waiting to be discovered. They are inside you. At this point, a quieter question replaces the others. You stop asking what is lurking behind this world and start asking if it's even possible that you can understand it. On the surface, every playable character has come to the dungeon to find one man, Lagarde. He is a mercenary captain who started a rebellion against the corrupt lords of his era, and he was imprisoned for his hubris. Well, that's one interpretation of it. You'll glimpse fragments of the truth as you delve into the darkness. There is a single question at the heart of everything. Is your suffering justified? Is there a point to the pounds of flesh you have lost in this world? It is not a question that the game will answer for you. The character everybody arrived at the dungeon for, Lagarde, is the inciting and main character of this story. He is less a goal than an example. One grand clue on how to answer this question. And he does answer it, although it is postponed, displaced into the future as if the world refuses closure. It's not something that can be put into words without being exsanguinated of all meaning. It's a question that is woven into the story and every ending of the game, and because of this, you are rarely guided to your next step. To progress, you must take everything from this world and defeat anyone who stands in your way, and you must delve deeper, and deeper still. And when you think you've reached the bottom, unless the credits are rolling, you are wrong. The ultimate test of this world is how much you believe is possible. How much are you willing to sacrifice to find the answers? Only those willing to offer up their entire selves to this machine will discover it. Every mistake is another slice to the cocoon that is and surrounds you, and if you can withstand that, then you can emerge, born anew. In this game, there are themes of people being tempted and lured by treasure glimmering in the deep, of power not being granted but being demanded, claimed, and stolen from a world that will do the same to you in return, of human limitations and the endless desire to transcend them, not by merely growing but by sacrificing yourself, slowing away your weakness to become something greater. The darkness is not merely a metaphor, a god, or an aesthetic. It's all of those expressed at different scales. It is a transformative force, and it is the central pillar of this game. It's the environment that twists and turns you around, the rules that determine who survives and who is food, and the pressure that crushes you as you descend. You will change, and your only choice is if you direct that change, or are broken by it. The blackened and twisted mutations of this world and its denizens shows what happens to those who cannot make it. If you enter the darkness but cannot make it out, your transformation will not be complete. They are something unfinished, stranded in the underworld. The story of the man-god Olmir and the paths the player can take show a path closer to what is ideal. You will emerge more powerful than you thought you could be, and can remake your world in your image. As the man-god and you will discover, it is not total freedom, but merely a greater capacity to enact your will. Your life and the world is not perfect after this, but it can be better. But how do you get there? Advantages compound. Finding a good weapon makes it easier to find an even better one. Remove an enemy's limb, and the fight is in your favor. But lose one, and it's against you. The difference is mindset, pragmatism. At any point you can claw back from nothing and turn your fate around, no matter how much the game tightens the screws. What are you not using? What are you holding back? Your body hasn't changed, only your mind and how you see the world around you. You are no longer human. You are a collection of resources dedicated to your goal. The darkness of the dungeons dehumanizes all who enter and turns them into resources to be consumed, systems to extract a specific result. Party members are not people. They are extra actions per turn, spare bodies, or currency for a trade. Not even the gods are sacred, but merely obstacles. Your body and mind is something to be molded into a machine that produces the outcome you desire. As your character is reshaped by the dungeon, so is the player's mind, your mind, as you delve its depths. You learn what kind of thinking survives down here, what kind of thinking will get you one step closer to your goal. You have to offer yourself up to become a person the game deems suitable, one reshaped into a being who can dive into the darkness and come out stronger. Ultimately, the result is a good one. But what else was this machine shaping you for? You should be more careful next time, because next time, the machine shaping you might not be so nice. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you very much to NordVPN for being today's video partner. Remember to go to nordvpn.com/Mythonix or click the link in the description. Thank you also to my friend bonesjones, who provided his expertise with the combat section of this video. Make sure to check out his channel for more Fear and Hunger content, and he's currently playing through a Chinese Fear and Hunger inspired game, which looks pretty awesome. If you enjoyed the video, then please consider subscribing for more, or even becoming a patron. It's the best way to support content like this. You can get access to scripts, teasers, video a week before the general public, and of course, your name in the credits. Thank you especially to those who have already signed up. Their names are on screen now. You've been watching Mythonix, hosted by More They Do. And remember, you're never alone in the dark.